You look at this, I think a cool piece of where we're at right now is we do kind of know where the Browns are going to be drafting regardless of what happens against the Cincinnati Bengals. They have the number 6 overall draft choice now. Even with the victory against the Bengals, though, the absolute lowest or absolute worst that pick can be is at 7. So that's a really nice spot for the Browns. Kind of lets people start carving out their big boards. And I know you've got some potential names that Browns fans should be watching out for, especially as the college football playoff continues to roll on. But we got a couple of bowl games to wrap up here today as well.
Well, if you look at the Browns, let's just go with the idea that they're going to stick with the quarterback position as is. They're going to go with Shedeur Sanders, they're going to go with Dylan Gabriel, and they're going to go with Deshaun Watson as the guy who's still in the going to be here, right? So if that's the case, then they got to go out and they got to get a skill guy. And there's a couple skill guys that they need to look at. Obviously, Carnell Tate, we've talked about. He's that vertical threat. But I like Mekhi Lemon. I like Jordan Tyson a little bit better, and here's why. They're guys. Mekhi Lemon's the number 1 receiver on my board. He's 5'11". He's undersized, but he can play inside and out. But he's that easy touch guy. So in Kevin's tenure here, everything has to be perfect all the time. They don't get any get-out-of-jail-free cards. Mekhi Lemon, for me, this year is the get-out-of-jail-free card in the guy in the draft, meaning I'm not going to block for him very well. I don't even care what route he runs. It's about space and pace, getting him the ball with open area around him. So I love him. Obviously, I think that Carnell Tate would be a great vertical threat as well. Now, up front, you got the kid out of Miami, the Maui Goa. He's an outstanding right tackle. I think Spencer Fanu, I have a little bit higher in him just because I think he can play the left tackle, and he brings an era of a kind of an element of nastiness that I think is going to be important if the Browns are going to continue to run the ball. If Tommy Rees is their offense coordinator, which obviously is all in the air. But Fanu's a great guy. You got the Proctor kid out of Alabama is a really good one. Guy that I really like because of where he comes from. The kid's name is Dunker out of Iowa. Long kid, kind of fits that Iowa frame. Long frame kid who's only going to get better as he becomes a pro because of his length. And then there's some centers, but those are there's some guys out there. If you're going to go high in the draft, I think you got to think more skill and kind of go for some of these older guys. Now, I do think Spencer Fano is a guy that can be a lockdown left tackle for a long time. I don't know about that, but Mekhi Lemon is a guy that this organization has been dying to get for a long time, a guy who can touch the ball in space and go make a play without doing much else.
So I'm a fan of him as well, and since I've got you here, I'm going to take the opportunity to jump in to some of this stuff, because the one knock that I've seen on him, and the one thing that I think Browns fans will be scared of, especially once the groupthink hits on it, is going to be the size. The fact that he's a smaller receiver. It seems like the Browns have some sort of unspoken affinity for smaller wide receivers. He's not really like a go up and get it kind of guy, more of a, like you said, burner, playmaker, goes out there and is wide open in the middle of the field somehow and is able to make a big catch and run. So talk a little bit about this size and if that should be an area of concern, because I know for sure that's the one thing that fans will point to as to, like a detractor for Lemon.
Well, sure, and that's a great way to look at it. So if you look at, let's use Carnell Tate as the other kind of version of what this receiver class gives you, right? He's a guy who's going to win at the line of scrimmage because he's big, he's 6'3", he's long, he's got a tremendous catch radius, he's really good at 50-50 balls, he's going to be really good down the field, he's going to be fantastic in the red zone. One thing Carnell Tate will not give you is he will not catch a hitch probably and take it to the house. He's not super sudden and twitchy. He's very, very good. Don't get me wrong, I'm talking like the less of what he does really well. He can run with it, but when I think about Mekhi Lemon, he might not be the guy, even though he does fight for the ball at 5'11", he's going to be the guy that catches these short passes that kind of get a quarterback into rhythm, and then he turns them into big gains. So both of these guys, once again, for me, the receivers coming down to their ability to release against zone and man, catch point, 50-50 balls, and then what they can do after catch. The catch point, Carnell Tate's the best in the draft to me. Run after catch, I think Mekhi Lemon's the best, in the draft. So you have to pick what route are you going? I think both are really good. For me, I like guys that can get me out of jail free when I get an easy ball to them and they go run for 50.
Is there any concern in your mind just the fact that when you look at what the Browns need most, you need a left tackle, you need really entire offensive line, and then you need wide receiver help. Is there any concern that those two areas in particular are where Barry has struggled in the NFL draft? And maybe that is why we've seen like the Tom Telesco thing got floated out there, Greer got floated out there. Like maybe they add a little support in an advisory role for Barry, because those are two position groups that Barry has struggled with, man.
Well, and a lot of comes down to, like, when you go watch Tillman practice, you see why the Browns went and got him. You're talking about a big, physical, long athlete, and he shows those spurts where he goes and makes a play, even last week on the corner route. So you see some of the things you can do. Do they trust him? Then they go Lemon. If they don't trust him, then they got to go a Tate guy, because they do need a guy who could take the top off. I think they got to get a guy who can, once again, make Jerry Jeudy be the 2. And when Jerry Jeudy becomes the 2, then all the issues that he has with some of these NFL receivers have with the touches, you can create touches for him without him having to be the go-to guy. And then he becomes almost like a 1A because he's not forced into that. But, if you look at a guy like Jordan Tyson, he kind of fits the mold for both run after catch and length. But he's struggled with injury, and guys who struggle with injury often struggle with injury. So obviously there's been some outliers that doesn't happen to, but for me, the safest bet, if I'm at 6 and they're staying put, I'm going to get Mekhi Lemon. That's the first thing I'm going to do, depending on what I do, if I can get a big left tackle in free agency.
I absolutely love it. Dude, it's so fun being in here with you, because, like, to get that kind of like in-depth analysis, like, it's like, dude, you could fire up a mock draft and you could read these names off of a list, but like, and then you could read the little summary about it, but you don't really know what you're getting in any one of these guys. I do think, especially just with it being like the 6th pick in the draft, something about that just smells to me prime Andrew Berry trade down territory, especially if you're not going to solve your quarterback thing this year. That lets you potentially get another first-round pick in 2027, if not maybe an additional second-round pick in 2027. I think fans are going to have to remember that 6th pick is a bit less valuable than what number 2 overall was in terms of trading down. You were able to get, an extra first-rounder last year for the number 2 overall pick. Not a guarantee that you'll be able to get that at 6, but it's certainly possible. I think something just about being down in that range makes it a whole lot more attractive for Andrew Berry to take those future draft picks, because the quarterback thing is at least a bit of an unknown. I think you and I are anticipating that Sanders will be an option for the team next year, but they could be looking at some other guys there as well at QB.
Well, my thing is, you have obviously Mendoza, and there's a bunch of guys that we'll go over here in the next couple months, but really it comes down to, do they have a guy who's high on their board? Do they have a guy that's high, like, for example, Carson Schlesinger? He was very high on their board, not as high on my board, and I think a lot of people's board, but he was outstanding. And when he got here, you go, okay, that's why I think there has to be more eyes involved in it than just one person, because you get a different perspective. You get a different look at things. Like for me, I think the Browns have to kind of look at getting back more picks, because they're going to be creating more picks for guys that they're not going to be making the picks anymore, right?
Correct.
It gets to the point where if you're getting rid of the head coach, it's kind of like the next person out is going to be the general manager if he's not out. So I think they got to pick guys. They got to find some impact guys. They haven't had a lot of first-round picks, so I don't know if they want to give up that first-round pick if there's a guy who they think, I don't know, I watch a lot of Mekhi Lemon. I don't think if you look at the Browns, how can you look at Lemon and not say that's a guy who can go get us some easy yards?
And that's what we're after, right? We're after offense. We're after modernization. Like, how many times do you watch the Browns on Sunday at 1 o'clock, and then you tune into some of the primetime games and you see some of these big points that are getting put up around the league? Teams that score into the 20s consistently, but also 30s. And how about this, to get really crazy, there's teams that are out there that could put up 40 points in a game. Like, I find it, and it's the reason why I tend to skew, like, I really want a wide receiver, and I want a wide receiver bad in that first round, because you get 5 years on that rookie deal when it's a first round pick. But also, like, I look at the guys that are getting it done, and the teams that are competing for Super Bowls and winning Super Bowls. Like, I get that the Eagles are reigning Super Bowl champions, and they did it in a season where Saquon Barkley rushed for 2,000 yards. But I also look, hey, maybe he was able to do that. Maybe some of their offense was so balanced because they have 2 lethal receivers in A.J. Brown and in Devontae Smith, who won a Heisman Award of all things on the other side of him. And it surely makes a balanced offense for Nick Sirianni and Philadelphia. So, like, I think the entire offense just needs guys that could be playmakers. Like, you mentioned Cedric Tillman there. Like, yeah, he looks the part of an NFL wide receiver, but he's just, like, we've seen it over the last, this is year 3 for him.
That's the analyst.
He's not scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, that's the analyst. That's the numbers versus the feel, right? He gives you all those measurables, but he hasn't made a lot of impact plays. You're absolutely right.
Right, like, yeah, like on paper, Sure, he should be Megatron Light. Like, I get that. But on the football field on Sundays, something's gone awry. Either he's A, not getting open, B, not getting the opportunity. C, we can break it down all the film until we're blue in the face, but the results are the results, and he has not made a big enough impact on that wide receiver position group. So I want one really bad. I think my wish is finally going to come true, though. I think they're going to do it.
What if Caleb Downs is available? Are you passing on Caleb Downs? I don't know if I could. I know I'm an offensive coordinator. I don't know. When you watch that guy on film and his leadership and the things he does, if he's there at 6, can you pass up a guy like? I don't think you can.
Didn't we play that game though last season where it was like, man, Travis Hunter there at 2, Andrew Berry called him the Shohei Ohtani of football, and we still see him trade down, man.